Delmarva Almanac presents Arts and Times, the Eastern Shore's quarterly arts magazine and community calendar. Each quarter, we highlight regional artists who work and show in our area, as well as some of our must-see cultural and natural attractions. Susan Holt creates thought-provoking art installations which lead the audience to unexpected places. Installations are three-dimensional works of art which are meant to be an experience, to invoke memories or ideas.
It's very accessible to many people who are not at all versed in contemporary art or even art in general, because a lot of times the materials that are used are very common and everyday, and the ideas come through fairly easily. I'm not saying always. A lot of them also are involve some kind of collaborative. So either you as a viewer go and you do something, or you walk through something, or you engage in it all physically as well.
Susan received a Bachelor of Fine Arts in painting and then traveled to Italy, where she stayed for 16 years. What began as a plan to return temporarily to the U.S. evolved into growing permanent roots here on Maryland's Eastern Shore, working in the graphic arts and eventually teaching. In 2010, Susan returned to school herself, earning her master's degree. Until that time, she describes her work mostly as abstract expressionism.
Of course, when you go to graduate school, they want to kind of tear down everything you've done and then rebuild everything. So it was challenging, but it was very invigorating, because I started to question. I was forced basically to question a lot of the ideas behind the kind of work that I was making. And I think I went in with a portfolio of work that was similar to the work I had done as an undergrad, without really exploring, is this me? Is this what I am about and what I want to do? Because I think one of the best things that was said to me in graduate school was, looking at your work, I should be able to tell what it is that you really care about. And I've always remembered that, because I think that that's true for all artists. And it's important to study other art from other periods and to work in different media. But in the end, your work should express what it is that you really, truly care about. And so by the end of the program, I was doing completely different work. Large-scale installation, very much interested in themes of memory and meaning, and I also did a piece that was very collaborative, and it was particularly interested in space and memory and the relationship between those two things.
Susan's master's thesis was an installation called Memories of Downtown Salisbury, which has developed a life of its own.
It stemmed from when I first moved to Salisbury. I got to know people about my age or older who remembered the downtown as being vibrant and the place to go, and people would just hang out there. And I'd hear these stories and I wondered what happened, and then I kind of got involved in as a volunteer in urban Salisbury and downtown revitalization. But I was always interested in, these spaces that are now empty. What are, if the walls could talk, what would they say? So I began doing interviews, and then the interviews led to one person to another person to another person. It was really interesting. It was amazing how happy people were to share those memories. So I started out doing video interviews, and then and I made a couple of videos, but I wanted to have something more interactive as well. I wanted to have something that was really open to people and that could be ongoing.
With the help of a few volunteers, Susan developed a large weaving with phrases from the interviews written on cloth strips and interwoven into the piece. Visitors to the installation could participate in interviews and have their memories interwoven into the interactive sculpture.
Since then, it has been shown. It was at Salisbury University for a show. It was in Vermont, where I got my graduate degree. And then in May, it was shown again during the Salisbury Festival. And now in July, it's going to be up again. during Third Friday. To me, this is not my project. It is about Salisbury. And so we've got now a Facebook page, and I've got several young, enthusiastic, and very energetic helpers who I am so glad are helping me to put this up and to spread the word. And I'm really enjoying that. I think it's coming at a time when people are really interested in not just talking about downtown revitalization, but actually things are starting to happen.
Susan teaches both art and Italian language at Salisbury University. She also organizes study abroad trips. Most recently, Susan led a group to Venice for the Biennale.
Every 2 years in Venice, there's a huge exposition of contemporary art, and it's international, and every country sends a representative to represent them at the Biennale. And this is, it's been going, it's the oldest contemporary art show in the world, and it gets bigger every year, and it kind of takes over the whole city.
Susan's latest installation piece was a fabric portico, which she built to transform the space of a recent faculty show at the university.
Not this January, but the January before, I took students to Bologna, Italy for a study abroad program. And so we were there for 3 weeks, and I had never been to Bologna before. I'd traveled all over Italy, but I had never been. And I fell in love with the city right away. It's a medieval city, and it has, it's famous for its porticos. And it has these architectural structures that are attached to buildings all over the city. And so basically, you hardly ever walk in the open air. All the sidewalks are covered by these beautiful arches, and some of them are very old, made out of wood, and some of them are kind of dirty and grungy, and others are beautifully painted, and every block has its own portico. When I came back home and I looked at the photographs again, and I started doing some drawings, I started making paper models, and my husband's an architect, and fortunately he helped me a lot sort of understand how they were built. And then I had this idea to work with transparent fabric, creating a three-dimensional shape, very large, that you could actually walk through. It's called Memories of Bologna. So it's based on this idea of a memory that kind of lingers of a space. You can, when you remember a space, you can never really completely recreate the experience of being there, but you have this kind of an impression.
Tenacity, humility, and openness are keys to the creative process for Susan.
I've had plenty of experiences where during the process things happen that I didn't predict. Accidents sometimes happen, unintended things, sometimes materials just sort of appear that I hadn't planned on, and it's exactly what I need. And so I think that being open to the process is really, really important, because it gives your work a vitality that you can see. In the kind of work that I do, it could never be sort of factory line. It's very important to honor the process, and I've talked to many different artists who have very interesting approaches to their studio work. For me, for example, I enjoy doing yoga and meditating and really trying to open my mind to allow ideas and techniques and things to come, because where does the muse come from? I don't know. It's a very mysterious kind of thing, and I think that it's important to be humble and open, and then very wonderful things happen. But you have to be open to them. Sometimes you have to work through a period of lots of failure before you kind of break through, and all of that working through has been a learning process, so it's really important not to give up.
Susan continues to be influenced by the art and architecture seen on her travels.
What I've been working on now is I took a lot of photographs when we were on our trip about this idea of memories of places. So there were, and Europe is wonderful for this because there's so much stuff on everywhere. And when we were in southern Spain and looked at a lot of Islamic architecture, there were places where some of the old decorations on the wall had crumbled or had fallen off, and then there were things on top of it. And so this idea of there's a term in painting called Pent Amenity, and so again, that idea of memory in place. So I took a lot of photographs of things like that, whether it was several different layers of a poster on the side of a wall that had peeled and revealed what was underneath it, and so that's what this is.
Susan Holt's work can be seen in upcoming Salisbury University faculty shows and at Salisbury's Third Friday Art Strolls. For university students interested in Italy, Susan is working on a proposal for a study abroad trip to Perugia in 2014. Find out more about Susan at salisbury.edu/art/faculty and upcoming faculty shows at suartgalleries.org. This publication is funded by Worcester County Tourism. Visit the beach and beyond. Thank you for watching this presentation. This has been a Moonshell production.